Good morning, everyone. I am Siddhartha Sinha, and you are all welcome to Siddhartha's Perspective and Classroom. We have been studying about the topic related to the motion, the chapter motion in class 9. And we have covered several topics, like we have studied about speed and velocity. We had studied about distance and displacement. We had studied about the scalar and vector quantity. All are related to one another. And moreover, we had studied about acceleration also in the last classes. Now, today in this class, we are going to cover the topic, a very important topic, equation of motion. This topic is important from the exam point of view, as well as if you are going for a higher studies in physics, and whenever you will be interacting with motion, then this topic are very necessary, because any object which is traveling will contain these basic formulas which is known as an equation of motion. So the first equation of motion is v equal to u plus a t, okay, where v is the final velocity, u is the initial velocity, a is acceleration, t is time. Okay, number 2, it is s equal to ut plus half of a t square, okay, where s is distance, u is initial velocity, a is acceleration, t is time. Okay, number 3, v square is equal to u square plus twice of as. So by looking this formula, we can say that this is a final velocity, initial velocity, and distance and acceleration. Okay, now why these topics are important and why these equations are important? Obviously because it is there in the syllabus, first of all, and secondly it is important because it depends upon the problem. Now we should all know by this class that mathematics is the language of physics. If you want to speak physics, mathematics is a very important tool for that. Yes, we can give some physical interpretations, some theoretical interpretations very easily without giving mathematical calculations, but in order to study physics, mathematics is the very important part. Okay, we cannot ignore maths. So if we don't study these equations properly, we won't be able to solve our problems. Like there will be some problems, certain problems where you will be given acceleration, you will be given the initial velocity, you will be given the time. Now the question will be there like find the final velocity of the object. Now say for example there will be it is said in a question that an object is traveling with an initial velocity of some speed, like an initial velocity of 10 km per hour, and it is accelerating in a rate of 5 km per hour square, and to cover a certain distance it takes time 2 hours. Then what is the distance traveled by the object? So at this point of time we will be having the initial velocity, time, and acceleration with us. So using this formula we will be able to solve the problem. And moreover when we are having distance, we are having distance, acceleration, as well as initial velocity, then we can find the final velocity by applying this formula. See, this is a basis of life. Okay, whenever I study physics, whenever I had studied physics during my class 9, or when I was in class 10 or 11 or 12 or in graduation, I had always related these problems with the real life. See, our life also has several problems. These formulas are what? These formulas are the strategies. The right strategy will take you to the right result. Now, if in a question you are given distance, you are given an initial velocity, you are given distance, and you are given an acceleration, now you will have to use the correct strategy. If you use this strategy, then you may not get the result quickly. If you use this strategy, you will not get the right solution. Why? Because the time here in this equation you will be finding time, but in our question time is not present. In our question we have initial velocity, distance, and acceleration. So we need to use the right strategy. This is the right strategy we will be using. And once we use this strategy in this problem, we will find the accurate result. So similarly in our life also, we face many problems, we face many difficulties. We need to identify the right strategy so that we can get the right solution. So that is all of philosophical part. Now let us come back to physics. Okay, just a moment. So before finding out or before deriving the first equation of motion, we should keep one formula in our mind, and after keeping the formula, the derivation would become very easy. We all know that acceleration is equal to change in velocity by time taken for the change. Right? We had studied in the last class. Now, change in velocity. How can we write it down? Obviously, an object, if it is traveling and it is changing its velocity, we will first calculate the final velocity. Then we will be having some initial velocity, right? So, final minus initial divided by time. This was our formula, right? A. So we know that A is equal to V minus U by T, where V is final velocity, U is initial velocity, and time T is time taken for the change, right? And A is acceleration, obviously I had mentioned it, right? Now this implies, what does it mean? We will use the unitary method, or you can just take this T over there. So it will be AT equal to V minus U. This implies V minus U equal to AT. We can write it like this, right? So this implies V equal to, if we take it there, then U plus AT. So this is our first equation of motion. V equal to U plus AT. Okay? Am I clear? Yes, we are. So you can pause the video in between and you can write down the formula, or else you can refer your textbook for that. Okay? Now, before deriving the second equation of motion, we should know a very important formula. It's related to average velocity. Average velocity. It can be written in this way actually. Okay? Average velocity. Now, if we consider that an object is traveling with certain initial velocity and it has a final velocity, we have calculated some final velocity, and the velocity is changing with respect to time, obviously, but it is changing in a uniform rate. Like in 1 second it is 1 meter per second, in 2 seconds it is 2 meter per second, in 3 seconds 3 meter per second. So in a uniform way the velocity is increasing. So in this case we can denote the average velocity as the final velocity plus initial velocity divided by 2. We can give the arithmetic mean. We can represent the average velocity with respect to the arithmetic mean. Okay? Now how this formula is important for us, we will be studying that. See, what we need to derive, that is obviously very important. When it is asked that derive the equation S equal to ut plus half of at square. This is the formula which you need to derive. So now your problem is to find out this formula. For this, first of all, we know that, as I told you, that average velocity is equal to v plus u by 2, right? Also, we know that average velocity is equal to total distance traveled by total time taken, or total displacement by total time, whatever we say. Sorry. Now, total displacement, how can it be denoted as? It can be denoted as S, because distance or displacement, it is ultimately the same thing, but the difference is that one is scalar quantity, another is vector quantity, and time would be t, right? Alright. Now, what can we denote here? See, average velocity, we will replace average velocity with this formula, that is v plus u by 2. I think there will be some problem in writing down this formula or the calculating this, so I am going to just erase it. Just keep this in mind, okay? So we can write that v plus u by 2 is equal to just a moment, something wrong happened. Is it okay now? Yes, it is. Okay. So, v plus u is equal to 2, which means it is distance by time. Now, let us take this t in the either side. It would be S is equal to v plus u by 2 into t. Is it clear? Now, we know that v, from the first formula, we got that v is equal to u plus at, right? Now we will replace this v with u plus at. But why we have done so? Plus u. Why we have done so? It is because we require, in this formula, we require ut. There is no place for v. V should be kicked out from the formula. Okay? If v is available, then we cannot reach this formula. We need to throw v out. Okay? So, now, u plus at. Now, u plus u would be 2u plus at by 2. Now take this over here. This implies, see, now we will just take the we will just divide this. Sorry. We'll just take the divisor over there. S equal to 2u by 2 plus at by 2. Now I think we have got our formula. S equal to u plus half of a t. Okay, sorry, I didn't give this. Okay, here will be another t because this t will be remaining there, half of a t. Okay, now u into t plus half of a t square. Okay, this implies s. So this will be the formula. So I hope it is clear. Okay. First of all, we need to write down the v plus u divided by 2. Next is s by t. V plus u by 2 and s by t, we will equal it. After that, v plus u by 2, we will be just taking this t in the either side. Okay. Now after that, after calculating, and here in the v we have replaced it from the first formula u plus at, and then we have added it. After calculation, it gives us the ultimate result. So pause the video if required. Just a moment. Let me adjust the camera. Okay. You can pause the video and write down the derivation in your notebook or wherever you are writing it. Now we will be calculating the third formula. Okay. Now we will be calculating the third formula of equation of motion. So what will you be doing? So now we are going to derive the third equation of motion, which is v square equal to u square plus twice as. Okay, this is the formula which we want. See, now in this entire formula there is no place for time. Okay, so time should be aparted. Now from the second equation of motion we got s equal to ut plus half of at square. Am I clear? We will use this formula, and the base would be our first formula, which is v equal to u plus a t. See, we require v in this formula. We require u, and we require a and s. Now in this formula we can replace this t very easily. This implies here what we can say, that t is equal to v minus u by a, right? We can say from this formula we can get t equal to v minus u by a. So we can replace t with this formula. Am I right or wrong? Okay. Now I hope I'm clear. Okay. This implies s equal to, in place of u we will be keeping it as u. In place of t we will write it as v minus u by a. Similarly, half of a t square will be v minus u by a. Right? Is it okay? I hope I am clear. Now, in order to do this equation, I will just erase all other things from my board so that it becomes easier for us to learn properly. Okay. So, why I have written this, I hope I am clear. If not, then you just rewind the video and once again you can check it out. Now this implies, I'll just copy this here, s equal to u, I will write it as v minus u by a plus half of a v minus u by a square. Okay. So now we are going to derive this formula accordingly. We will just use some basic principles of maths. Okay. uv minus u square by a plus half of a, and we can write it as v square minus twice of uv plus u square by a square. Am I clear? Now it would be uv by a minus u square by a plus half of, if we just cancel it out, it would be a into a, so one a would be cancelled, right? So it would be half of v square minus twice of uv plus u square. Just we will remove the bracket, uv by a minus u square by a plus it would be v square by 2 minus 2uv by 2 plus u square by 2. Is it clear? Now from this formula what can we get? See, just a minute. Okay, here we will be having the a, right? I'm sorry, it would be divided by a, so it would contain twice a and twice a. Okay, so there should not be any confusion. I just missed it out here. After calculating, there remains a, so we need to mention, obviously it would be half of v square minus twice of uv plus u square by a. Now when we remove the bracket, it would be v square by twice of a minus 2uv by twice of a plus u square by twice of a, right? Now see, how can we calculate it accordingly? We will take v square, uv and u square separate. We will just separate it. See, v square by twice a, we can keep it. Now minus twice of uv by twice a, if we keep it like this, now plus uv by a, right? Again minus plus u square by twice a minus u square by a. Okay, now we will separate it. V square by twice of a minus, we will just keep it into bracket, under bracket, so twice of uv by twice of a minus uv by a. If we remove the bracket, it will be again the same, minus of 2 uv by twice a, minus into minus would be plus by uv by a, right? Am I clear? Plus, now we will keep this into under a bracket. Means we have separated the equation in terms of the variables which is there in the equation. U, v, these are the variables, right? It can. So I hope I am clear up to this. Now you can pause the video and you can practice accordingly. The next part I am going to okay, I can write it here also. Just a minute. V square by twice of a minus. Now if you take the LCM, it would be what? Twice of a, right? Keep under bracket. The LCM would be twice of a. Now it would be 2uv minus, it would be 2uv, right? Because a into a and another a is there, so it would be sorry, there is a 2, a into a is there and there remains 2, so 2 into uv. Now plus again the same, it would be twice of a, right? Next it would be u square minus 2u square. So I think I am clear up to this point, up to this equation. I think I am clear. Okay, now pause the video, see this equation. This is a very important equation. If you are in class 9, then and you have just started the topic of motion, the chapter motion, then obviously you will have to go through this equation properly, and you will have to practice it several times, not only once or twice. Okay, then only you will be able to complete this equation in examination in a short interval of time. Otherwise you will be struggling with the equation in order to derive it, and there will be a loss of time and maybe if you don't give the proper result, if you are not able to derive it, you will not be given any marks for that also. Okay, now we will just copy the same equation here, v square by twice of a, here it is s. Okay, v square by twice of a minus 2uv minus 2uv by twice a, then plus u square minus twice of u square by twice of a. Right? Just erase it. So, which is equal to, it will be v square by twice a. See, 2uv minus 2uv, it will be 0. Ultimately it will be 0. 0 by any divisor would be 0, right? Because we cannot divide 0. That is very simple. Now plus. See, minus twice u square plus u square. Obviously the result will be minus u square by twice a. Right? In the next step it would be v square by twice of a minus u square by twice of a. Right? Now if we take the LCM, it would be v square minus u square by twice of a. If we take the twice a in the either side, it would give us twice of as equal to v square minus u square, which we can write it as v square minus u square equal to twice of as. This implies v square is equal to twice of as plus u square, or we can write it as v square is equal to u square plus twice of as. So this is the third formula or the third equation of motion. So we have gone through the entire three equations of motion. We have derived v equal to u plus at. We have got another formula for average velocity is u plus v by 2. Using this formula we have derived, see, this formula was derived from where? V equal to this formula was derived from a equal to v minus u by t. From this formula it was derived. Now using this formula we have derived s equal to ut plus half of at square, because average velocity is again s by t. So we have just, by keeping since v bar is equal to s by t, v bar is this, so this is equal to this. So if a is equal to b and a is equal to c, then obviously b is also equal to c, right? So we have used this logic and we have made this we have derived this equation. We have derived this equation. Now applying this equation, applying this formula into this equation, we have derived v square equal to u square plus twice of as. It should be very simple. Okay, to explain you very simply, use this formula a equal to v minus u by t to derive v equal to u plus at. Use the formula of average velocity to derive the second equation of motion. Average velocity is what? S by t, means distance traveled by time, and initial velocity plus final velocity divided by 2. Use both the formula, equalize both the equation, and then you can derive this formula easily. And applying this formula into this formula, okay, like t is there, so from v equal to u plus at, derive t, we can write it as t, or from this formula also it can be derived t equal to v minus u by a, right? After applying this formula into this formula, we can derive the third equation of motion. So we have covered a very crucial part of equation of motion, and I hope you have understood the equation, how to derive the equation, and also remember that these are some of the strategies which we use to solve certain problems. When you will be going through the NCERT syllabus or the NCERT problems, after you complete the chapter, when you will go through the exercises, there you will be finding some equations, some problems will be there. and you need to apply these equation of motion into those problems in order to find out the solution. So similarly, for as a conclusion of this classroom, this is not only a topic, this is not only a chapter which we are learning, this is about life. Our life also has got problem solving formulas which we are not able to identify or we are not able to recall sometimes, because real life problems are it will not be planned, it does not have any syllabus, right? So we are not prepared for that, and we need to face it incessantly and continuously. So we should identify the right formula, we should apply the right strategy to find out our solution. So that's it. That is from Siddharth Sinha in today's class, and thank you very much for watching my video. Thank you.